Take a moment and imagine this. It's a quiet weekend afternoon somewhere in America. You're cleaning out an old kitchen drawer that's been ignored for years. Inside are loose batteries, faded receipts, a few paper clips, and a small pile of pennies that almost everyone would overlook. Most people would scoop them into a jar without thinking twice. But what if one of those ordinary-looking 1-cent coins carried a story that collectors have been talking about for decades? Not because every 1988 penny is worth a fortune, but because a small detail, one that most people never notice, can completely change how collectors see that coin. That's what makes today's journey so fascinating. The 1988 Lincoln cent isn't famous because it was made from gold or silver. It isn't the oldest coin in America, and it wasn't produced in tiny numbers. In fact, millions were struck. Yet hidden among those millions of varieties and tiny differences that continue to attract collectors, experts, and everyday people who enjoy searching through pocket change. Sometimes the most interesting discoveries begin with the coin nobody expected to matter. Travel back to 1988 for a moment. America was changing in many ways. Shopping malls were busy, cassette tapes filled car stereos, and pennies passed through thousands of hands every single day. A child buying candy, a cashier making change, or a grandparent dropping spare coins into a glass jar could all have handled a 1988 cent without giving it a second thought. Those coins quietly became part of everyday life. And decades later, many of them are still circulating. That raises an interesting question. If so many were made, why do collectors still search for them? The answer isn't simply age. In coin collecting, rarity often comes from small differences rather than low production numbers. A tiny design change, a minting variation, or an unusual error can transform an ordinary coin into something that specialists want to study more closely. The first thing many collectors check is the mint mark. A 1988 cent may have no mint mark, meaning it was struck in Philadelphia, or it may carry a D for Denver or an S for San Francisco on proof coins. At first glance, they appear almost identical, but experienced collectors know that the real story begins after that first look. They examine every letter, every line, and every detail under magnification because the smallest difference can reveal something unusual. Here's where the story becomes even more interesting. One of the best-known talking points involving the 1988 cent is a reverse design, transition variety. A small number of coins appear to have been struck using the reverse design intended for a later year. It's an incredibly subtle difference, and identifying it correctly usually requires careful comparison with known examples. Most people would never notice it during everyday use. Yet this tiny detail has made the 1988 cent an exciting challenge for variety hunters. Notice what this doesn't mean. It doesn't mean every 1988 penny is valuable. It doesn't mean every coin found in a drawer is rare. Condition, authenticity, collector demand, and professional verification all play important roles in determining value. That's exactly why experienced collectors avoid jumping to conclusions. Instead, they enjoy the detective work, knowing that every coin has a story waiting to be uncovered. Picture someone rolling pennies collected over 30 years. Hour after hour, nothing unusual appears. Then one coin catches the light just a little differently. The date looks ordinary, the color seems normal, but something about the design encourages a second look. Out comes a magnifying glass. The search slows down. Curiosity replaces routine. Whether that coin proves to be an important variety or simply an interesting example, that moment of discovery is one of the biggest reasons people fall in love with coin collecting. And that's only the beginning. In the next part of the story, we'll explore the details collectors examine most closely, the mint varieties that create excitement, realistic market values based on condition, and one lesser-known fact about the 1988 1-cent coin that surprises even experienced collectors.